Hi, I'm back. My name is Robin Jennings Bowen. I am currently enrolled in OS 210 Organization Communications class at Goodwin College. I will be discussing the symptoms centered around being burned out in the workplace. There are three symptoms that can lead to suffering from burnout. I want to first define what the term burnout means. Burnout refers to a wearing out from the pressures of work. There are three dimensions related to burnouts. Those three dimensions are emotional exhaustion, lack of personal accomplishment, and depersonalization. I want to define each of those dimensions because I think it's important to understand what they mean. Emotional exhaustion is when an employee is tired, fatigued, frustrated, used up, or unable to face another day at work. Lack of personal accomplishments is when an employee sees themselves as failure, incapable of effectively accomplishing the job requirements. Depersonalization is when an employee views other people through a rust colored glass, developing a poor opinion of them, expecting the worst from them, and even eventually disliking them, which often happens in the workplace. There are three stressors that lead to burnouts: workload, work role conflict, and role, excuse me, workload, role conflict, and role ambiguity are the three stresses that leads to burnouts. An example of workload was when I was working at ADRC and I supported 14 directors, one CEO, and one COO. There were days when it was difficult to support all of these people because no one was communicating with the work that they were placing on my desk. It was a job to figure out what tasks were most important and to complete that task or project first. Time management was very important. Role conflict and role ambiguity is when you receive conflicting instructions from two different people or two different supervisors, which often occurred at ADRC. It was important for me to be organized, and I had time management down to a science in order to complete all the tasks that were placed on my desk. However, there were days where, role conflict and role ambiguity came into play because I would receive conflicting instructions from different supervisors. So there are three different ways of coping with burnout. The textbook states problem centered coping, appraisal centered coping, and emotion centered coping. Problem centered coping involves dealing directly with the cause of the burnout. Once you establish the cause of the problem, you can always find a resolution. And as an example of this scenario, working at ADRC and supporting 16 people, I had a meeting with the CEO and told him it was an overload for one person. We came up with various solutions of resolving the issue by designating some of the workload back to the other administrators and assistants. The solution was giving training to those assistants so they can be effective in supporting their supervisors. Appraiser Appraisal centered coping involves changing the way one thinks about stress or the situation. I personally took one day at a time and I refused to bring any stress or any issues or problems home with me. When I left in the evenings at ADRC, I left them problems right there at the workforce. You need to be able to separate and leave it there, and vice versa. If I have a problem at home, I didn't bring it in the workplace. Emotional centered coping involves dealing with the negative effect of the outcome from the burnout. I never had any negative emotion because I didn't allow myself to get to that state. So I hope you learned something today on burnouts and how to cope with burnouts should you have a burnout. And being in school, you can definitely have a burnout. So learning how to cope with it and deal with it and resolve it can make you successful. Thanks for watching my video.